Hello and welcome to Are We There Yet? MarketScale's online video podcast series that explores the most exciting, cutting-edge things happening today in the world of transportation and mobility. And I'm really excited for the opportunity today to speak with HUVR. This is an organization and a platform that has come highly recommended to me. And as I've learned more about the organization and technology, I'm sincerely just fascinated with the organization and really excited to learn more. HUVR as an organization develops technology that provides virtual access to mobile locations and virtual events throughout the world without the need to physically be there. From one-on-one presentations to guided private tours to fully blown ticketed events with up to 15,000 attendees, HUVR can truly accomplish it all. And here today to tell us more about HUVR is the founder and chief executive officer, Herman de Boord. Herman, hello and welcome to Are We There Yet?
Hi, thanks for having me, Grant.
Absolutely. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk today. Really excited to ask you some questions and to learn a little bit more about the platform and technology. But for audience members that are out there that maybe aren't so familiar with the organization and the platform that you provide, you mind telling us a little bit more about HUVR?
Yeah, no, that would be great. HUVR originated as a concept back in 2019. It actually came about, believe it or not, watching the original movie Avatar.
Wow.
We were watching the veteran that got into the pod and went into the other world, and just thought, why can't we do that on a smaller scale? So we built an MVP, and that MVP was very much like Uber, but instead of connecting riders to drivers, we were connecting virtual travelers to human walkers in other countries. And so we got that up and running initially in about 5 countries. And the whole concept was, allowing people to explore the world without knowing anyone in those areas. And all of this is in real time. There's nothing curated, which is also one of our big pluses in the app is no curation, no curated content, no Photoshop, no nothing like that.
Wow. Wow. Great. Those authentic experiences. That's incredible. I still remember seeing Avatar for the first time myself and talk about how much everyone enjoyed that experience. I remember when the movie was over that there were a few shouts from the audience that they didn't want to leave the world. They didn't want to leave the experience. They wanted just to keep it going. And so that's incredible that was kind of the origin of HUVR and providing that type of experience throughout the world. So really incredible to learn a little bit about kind of that initial idea. I know that within the organization and platform, you have a few divisions or initiatives where the technology and platform is really kind of catered for specific users. I know, for example, you have the HUVR Gig and HUVR Pro and HUVR Gov, for example. Do you mind maybe touching a little bit on each of these 3 areas?
Yeah, absolutely. Our original MVP was a gig economy company, and so we've kept that running over the years. And essentially, it allows anyone with a mobile device right now, and we're quickly moving to static cameras and drones as well. But with the gig economy side, they can have a mobile device in any country. Well, we're in 53 countries right now and growing. So anyone in those 53 countries can log on, register as a walker. It's free to register. Once you register, you put in your bio, your photo, what you're going to be showing, and then you'll be available on the map. And so travelers from around the world can hire you, and you can make up to $42 an hour, US dollars, just being a virtual tour guide. And again, as it's one-to-one with travelers, they can talk to you. So you want to say what language you speak. For the most part, we're English-speaking app, but we also are on our roadmap. We are getting ready to integrate a translation tool that will it's speech to translation. So essentially, you can speak English while someone else is speaking Arabic, and it will translate back and forth so that you can communicate. Wow. So that'll be in the near future. The HUVR Pro section, what that is basically a SaaS version of our HUVR Gig Economy platform. So with the SaaS platform, we allow organizations to come in and license the platform that we've built so that they can use all of the technology for their own purposes. And so as an example, we work with a lot of universities that will license our platform, and then they use it mainly for student acquisition and alumni engagement. Mm-hmm. And so they like the idea of sending out, 300,000 invitations to students all over the world. And then they set up micro destinations inside their campus. So they'll set up a tour of the mathematics facility or the science facility or the fine arts, talk with the fine arts dean or something like that. And then the students get the invitation, they see the schedule, and they can come and join whatever they're most interested in. And then the videos are saved to to the app in the cloud. They can rewatch those. They can show them to their parents. They can make a more informed decision without having the need to pay for travel. Some people, can't afford travel. Some people are afraid to travel. That was two of the big sparks why we created this app in the first place. Yeah. And then you have the HUVR Gov division, and the HUVR Gov division is basically what it says. We're working right now with national and international governments and agencies for various reasons. They're using it for mainly for allowing people to take a tour of a base that they're changing to, or some of them are integrating us into their security platforms. And so because it's a mobile device, they're also using it for training purposes. So right now, for example, in the U.S. government, you have to essentially send a team out to a base. And when you send that team out to a base, it's very costly. Then that base has to evaluate some training. Those people evaluate the training on the base. Well, with our app, you can have up to 15,000 participants, and they don't have to travel. They can actually do the training remotely. So they're using it for that. And then they're also using it for recruiting purposes, because the recruiting is way down right now for the U.S. government. It's like 43% in the military. And so essentially you've got, by being able to use HUVR, for example, you can say like, okay, I'd like to be a load master for the Air Force. Most people don't know what a load master is. Well, you can go and talk to someone at a recruiting office who might be able to show you some pictures. But with HUVR, you could actually do an interactive experience where you could actually see a load master in action. And then you could show that to your parents and say, hey, this is what I'm wanting to do, and kind of increase those recruiting numbers. So, we're trying to use this platform for multiple purposes, but that's our main three divisions.
Yeah. Very exciting. I can think of so many use cases just as you share, some of those different applications of the technology. I have a relative who does a lot of training for a major government contractor. I know spends a lot of time on the road, and they do some live broadcasts and events and different things like that. But something such as your platform that it really allows for scale with thousands, of viewers able to attend one of these events really makes a lot of sense. And have another friend who recently daughter's off to college and hadn't had an opportunity yet herself, to visit the campus, although her daughter had, and she was kind of disappointed in making a trip soon. But, with a platform like this to, really get to kind of see it firsthand and experience it a little bit more, through the technology makes a lot of sense. So I can very clearly see, how you're really empowering creators and individuals and businesses and government organizations, even as you shared. So really a lot of value for everyone using the platform. That's really, really excited to hear. I know, working in the industry myself and with the podcast series, there's certainly other technology, other platforms out there. I've found, that often it requires multiple technologies, multiple platforms. You truly offer a solution in terms of live events and virtual experiences that kind of brings a lot of those capabilities together, and sharing analytic information and different aspects of it, really makes a lot of sense. Can you maybe speak a little bit to why kind of some of the current technologies, platforms, maybe that some of us are familiar with, aren't really getting it done in providing the experience that you do with HUVR?
Yeah, I think two main things come to mind when you ask that question. I would say the first is the biggest question we get when we talk to people is, why can't I do this with FaceTime or something like that? And the answer is, if you know someone in every country or every city, you certainly can, but the chances are you don't. You don't know someone in Hyderabad or in Rome or in Tokyo. You don't know someone in every one of those countries who you can just log on instantly, connect to, and they show you around. Yeah. So that's the one big difference is we have that workforce, and it's not just a platform. It's got that gig economy angle as well. Mm-hmm. Secondarily, one thing that organizations are liking about us, though, especially on the SaaS side, is that they can set up multiple videographers and multiple destinations at the exact same time. So on a university campus, for example, you can have 12 different videographers, 12 different speakers in 12 different locations, all running different programs and different events at the exact same time. We're working with there's a sports organization we're working with, and they like to promote their after parties. They're not going to do broadcasting because they've sold their broadcasting rights, but they can do the after parties for after the sporting event. And a lot of people can't attend those. And so they'll sell e-tickets to those, and then you can join. But before you join, they say, okay, we're going to have these athletes will be in this room. These athletes will be in this room. The coaches will be in this room. The owners will be in this room. So you can choose, and they're all going on simultaneously. And it all happens through the control panel of our dashboard. So, I think that's been a big eye opener for a lot of organizations we're working with, is that ability to control and have multiple videographers or ambassadors doing this at the same time.
Yeah, makes sense. You mentioned the gig economy, and I think that HUVR gig, falls so well within that. Really is a powerful tool that individuals and creators, influencers can use to really kind of scale, much of what they're already doing. And that's something, certainly not limited to the United States. And I understand that through, for example, your HUVR World initiative within your HUVR Pro division, you're providing just incredible experiences in places like Africa, for example, and many other countries, as you share, that you're already working with, empowering them with this tool to make them more successful in what they're doing, really is life changing for individuals that are working with your tools and providing these types of experiences for those outside of their country. Can you talk a little bit about the impact that you're already seeing with some of the individuals that are providing these tools and experiences for the company?
Yeah, I mean, when you start talking life-changing, I mean, we were on a call this morning with an organization that's bringing us onto their group that's connected to the United Nations. And essentially what they're doing is they're most interested in the fact that we can provide a substantial revenue and a substantial income for individuals living in impoverished regions of the world. So when you start talking about places like Rwanda and Tanzania and Kenya and even anywhere in the East African coast, they're living sometimes and they're making $5 a day to $20 a day. So when you can come in with HUVR and make up to $40 an hour, that's a substantial differentiator. And so what we're trying to do now is we're going through the process of figuring out, are we purchasing the devices? Because we don't want the people to have to purchase a mobile device because they obviously can't afford that. So we've set up a nonprofit called HUVR Cares. HUVR Cares will then take those donations, will then scholarship the phones to the people living in those areas, and we'll do the training as well. The training will be free. The devices will be free. And then we're basically going to teach them how to break that cycle of poverty just by using a mobile device and their knowledge of the local area. So far, we're getting a lot of interest just from that initiative alone. And it really is a very impactful thing. Now, when you even look at the governments themselves, like we're talking to the government of Rwanda right now, they're interested from mainly from a tourism and an economic impact growth aspect of their country, because they want to promote their tourism, their culture, their business, their education systems. They want to promote that to everyone in the world. So if they can partner with us to set up all of these access points throughout their country, and then we can promote that to people around the world and people can just access it live and in real time, to them it's a big win because they're getting more eyes on what they're doing. And Rwanda is a beautiful place. I mean, I don't know how much people or your listeners know about it, but it's a fantastic place. So, that's two of the areas I think that would answer that question.
Yeah, very much. And I appreciate you sharing that at such a scale. I mean, it's not even the individuals' lives, but it's really, really, changing the economy of countries, and something that's gaining the attention of governments, around the world, to help kind of improve some of these areas and boost up, their economy. So that's powerful. Would you mind kind of walking the audience, through, an experience with HUVR? So let's, say, for example, I have an interest in, creating an experience in Rwanda, a place that I've never visited, for example. And so I'm kind of, logged into the system and working within the platform, and kind of have some time set up, for experience. How do you mind maybe just walking us through kind of how it works, how we would, sign up for this type of thing, and what we might expect, within a HUVR experience?
Yeah, so you can download the app. It's the HUVR. Just type in HUVR Virtual Travel on Google or Apple, or you can go to HUVR.com, and we have a web application as well. And when you do that, you'll essentially create yourself a free traveler account. You'll put in a payment method because it's a gig economy company. And then once you do that, you start browsing the map. And so when you browse the map, you'll see destinations and categories on the app itself, hot destinations, new destinations, different things like that. And when you click it, you'll start to drill down. So you'll get to places in Rome, or places in Portugal, or places in Brazil. And when you finally get to the city, you'll see faces on the map, if it's the right time of day. If it's the other side of the world and everyone's asleep, there's a button that you can request a scheduled trip. And so you can put that in, and what it'll do is it'll put your trip request into a queue, so that when the walkers do wake up, they'll get that request and they'll be able to accept it. And then you'll get notified that, hey, at this time, we can do a walk in this area. And we've tested that in all over the country, all over the world, actually. But yeah, it's a very simple process. Then once you've selected the person, you can actually read through their bios and what they're showing and what their ratings are. We very much encourage ratings, because it's a self-governed system, because, you don't want to have someone who gives very poor experiences. So at the end of your experience, we ask that you give a rating and a comment about the trip itself. And that helps future travelers to understand what they're going to be hiring. And so after you've hired the person, you select how many minutes you estimate that you want to do. Even if you select like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, it doesn't matter. You can always end the walk early, and so can the walker. Again, we train the walkers to, there can be some inappropriate travelers as well that ask for things that you're not supposed to show. And so, we encourage the walkers to end it, and then we ask the walkers to give a report too. So it's very much a self-governed system on both sides. And we kind of took that model from typical driving apps that you'll see that are successful. But again, very simple system to use. And again, if there's no one on the map, you can just request that a trip happen when someone does wake up.
Yeah. It does sound very simple, and I love to hear that. And I can remember growing up and spinning a globe and kind of daydreaming of the different places that I'd like to visit someday. Or nowadays we're probably doing that online, but you don't have to daydream anymore. It sounds like you can just pick the place that you want to see and schedule some time with a walker through HUVR and make it happen. That's amazing.
Yeah, and we're also again, if you look at our roadmap, we're currently working on adding about 70,000. They're called still cam access points, and so you'll be able to, if there are no walkers in the Caribbean and you want to see what's going on, you'll be able to access these still cams as well. And then we'll be adding drones very soon as well, so you'll be able to get an aerial view of a location. And you won't be able to drive the drone. That's one thing we won't, because it'll be, that would be too dangerous. But it will go up and give you a 360 view, and just be a little bit different experience. So our goal is to add as many access points as we possibly can on the app. And then, in the future, we also want to add things like music, different things that make it interesting. So while you're in Dublin, Ireland on the map, you can just click a button and hear the current sounds or current songs from that area. So we're going to be adding a lot of stuff to the app just to make it more interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Just building upon that experience that HUVR provides. That's really cool. Um, Speaking about some of the walkers and the individuals that provide the tours, and it's very, very global. You have individuals, walkers throughout the world providing these types of experiences. As you also look at kind of some of the different groups that this is especially appealing to, I understand that within kind of the gig economy, there's some special groups, some special demographics that this is especially great for. I envision groups like senior citizens, if you will, that maybe want to have a gig, but don't necessarily want to have kind of your traditional part-time job, for example, would be curious about kind of your comment on maybe some of the specific groups of walkers or individuals where this is especially appealing to.
Yeah, we're actually in the process of targeting senior citizens. We're trying to target veteran groups here in the United States. There's a stat last week, I think, that showed that I think it was 80% of senior citizens are considering going back to work, but they didn't want to, potentially be driving a car, get that traditional gig economy job delivering things. So, this allows them to talk to people about their local area, which senior citizens are normally quite good at. Mm-hmm. And it allows them a very simple interface on a mobile device, and they can generate a pretty substantial income for themselves, and additional income. And so we're going to be targeting those groups very, very soon. And again, we're going after veterans. We're going after even the disabled community because, if you have a mobile device and you can get outside, even if you're in a wheelchair, you can actually do a tour and show people certain things about your area. And so we want to highlight those groups along the way as well to say, you're not just helping some random person, this person is in the disabled community. Here's the senior citizen community. Here's people living in poverty around the world. There are groups that you can impact on this site, and also you get to explore the world at the same time.
Yeah. That's great. Gosh, on both sides, it's a win-win for everyone involved. I think, getting to benefit from these experiences, and the individuals and walkers that are benefiting, from, working with the organization. Sounds like, it truly is a win-win for everyone involved. We've talked a little bit about, the individuals and kind of how this fits within kind of this gig economy. And you provided some great examples, the university example, and how some of the government organizations and military are already seeing value from working with HUVR. I'd be curious too to learn a little bit more about some of the businesses. So within kind of a B2B focus, some of the maybe success stories or examples of some of the businesses that you've worked with and how they're using the technology to better engage their communities and provide experiences. Do you mind sharing some information on that?
Yeah, I think there's some fun examples. One of the most creative was a vineyard in Portugal. And the vineyard in Portugal, they were impacted by the pandemic. They were impacted by COVID. They used to get like 1,000 people a day visiting their vineyard, and they would give tours of the vineyard, and then they would, sell bottles at the end of port, because it's Porto, Portugal. Mm-hmm. And so they were impacted financially. So we went to them and said, hey, let's try this virtual tour thing. And not only are you going to get the 1,000 locals, but you're going to get people from all over the world that does this. Yeah. So, we had to go through and do testing with them for their Wi-Fi and testing with them to make sure the signal was good as they went down into the cellars, and then they went out into the fields to show the grapes being grown. And that was a fun one because, at the end of it, we added a purchase button where you could actually buy the port online. Mm-hmm. And so now what we're trying to do is take that to another level where you can pre-order bottles of wine, and then you take the tour and you get a taste test at the end where someone's walking you through what you're tasting. A sommelier is walking you through what you're tasting.
Wow! So
we're trying to make it really, really fun for them. So doesn't quite just feel like you're on a mobile device. You're actually experiencing something, kind of like that. If you can taste what they're tasting and they're explaining it to you, it's very much like you're there. So that's a fun one, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I would really be curious about, you offer a solution for so many different groups. You have the divisions, as you shared. Would love to learn about kind of, some things that you're working on now or kind of what's next. And you've hinted to this already with some of the additional, capabilities and how you're really just kind of further strengthening the experience that's provided. But if you don't mind sharing with the audience, would love to hear about some of the things that you're especially excited about now, expanded capabilities over the next, few months. You mind, commenting on that?
No, I think probably the most exciting expanded capability we have is we're adding this sounds a little strange at first when you hear it, but we're adding a fiber optic element. It's a 4E system that connects into the app itself, the video app, and it's a fiber optic ring interferometer. And so essentially what that's for is we've had some of our clients request some things in the security realm and cybersecurity realm. And so what this does is it puts a fiber optic ring around something that you want to protect around a perimeter, and it signals the app to go live anytime there's an interference or a sound that happens in that. So we're going to be getting pretty technical there. And then also you've got, I think you've got the big thing that we're doing is I think around the world, you've got this hypersensitivity to personal data. And so everybody's very, very sensitive to personal data being collected and personal data being sold. And it's happening everywhere. I know TikTok's in the news, but it happens on all platforms.
Yeah.
What we're doing is we're scrubbing out the personal data. And we're basically our data is going to consist of audio, video, and geospatial data that's non-user centric. So that data you can run AI programs through it. You can put machine learning on it. It collects weather data while you're touring the world. It collects all sorts of data that you'll be able to eventually use for various purposes. But we've already got interest from some major contractors to purchase that type of data that, again, is non-user centric. So as we build as a company and as we grow as a company, we have additional revenue streams that are popping up. Yeah.
That's very cutting edge. I appreciate you sharing that. I'll be excited to watch continued developments on that front. That's really interesting. So I'd love to get your answer, to the "Are we there yet?" question. I enjoy asking "Are we there yet?" Of guests within the podcast series, and just again, I'm so impressed with your company and technology. And so when you think about true safe, reliable, virtual access to mobile locations, virtual events, around the world without the necessity to physically be there. Through HUVR, through your technology, are we truly there yet?
No, not yet, but we will be. I mean, again, probably I'm going to say 3 steps down the road on our roadmap. We are getting into the metaverse. We're getting into Web 3.0. We are getting into the virtual reality transmission and goggles as well. And I think the internet's going to look very, very different in the near future. And so the internet that you and I are on today is not going to be like this at all. We will have goggles of some sort of glasses. We will be in the same room, even though we're not. It will be a vastly different experience. So HUVR is trying to grow with that, and we're already testing 360 camera transmission, and can you actually virtually go somewhere now and walk around? It's not quite possible yet, so I don't think we're there yet, but I think we're on the right track.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love to hear that. And I love just how you're really, preparing for that. So as the internet, as technology continues to advance, HUVR's right there in the middle of all of it, really ready to, really build and capitalize upon those capabilities and developments. So really, really inspiring to hear that. I know that as a result of our conversation today, there's going to be a lot of individuals and businesses out there that are going to be excited to learn more about HUVR and to explore opportunities to work together. You mind directing the audience to your website and wherever else they might be able to learn more about the company and technology?
Yeah, it's simple. It's HUVR.com. So HUVR, it's an acronym that stands for Human Virtual Reality. So if you just go to HUVR.com, you'll learn about everything that we talked about today.
Very good. Very good. Well, thank you so much. I really, again, appreciate you taking the time to stop by today and telling us about HUVR. I know that I'm excited about it. Many audience members will be as well. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk today. And I will be watching HUVR very closely and excited to use it myself. So really appreciate it, Herman.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me, Grant.
Thank you.